Frederick Douglass Boulevard, also known as 8th Avenue in Harlem on 128th and 129th Street. It was a rezoned piece of property. It was 75 affordable units with a beautiful brand new 7,500 square foot supermarket we put in on the base and a cell phone store as well. Down in the Mott Haven corridor, we built some 4-story buildings on Alexander Avenue, 136 Alexander Avenue, which was 5 units and a restaurant, and 131 Alexander, which is 15 units and 3 stores. And we also built 329 East 132nd Street, which is a 91 unit market rate building that opened up in 2018. Next slide. So just wanted to show you the insides of these units, of these buildings. Since we showed you the outside, you could see at 131 Alexander Avenue, we built a loft style apartment with modern finishes, really pretty high, tall ceilings, HVAC units in every unit. 329 East 132nd Street, you can see we have a roof lounge on top with beautiful views of both Manhattan and the Bronx. We have a gym, a tenants lounge with Wi-Fi included for all the tenants. And those are the pictures to the right. You can go to the next slide. This is the interiors of Frederick Douglass Boulevard. You can see our bathrooms, beautiful kitchens, stainless steel appliances, dishwasher, hardwood cabinets, beautiful flooring, and 2 pictures of the supermarket that we put in there too, which is, you know, really unbelievable supermarket. They used to be there in a small 1-story, and now they expanded to the 7,500 square feet, huge produce section, really pretty supermarket. Next slide. So getting to this Furman Avenue project, we believe the economic development for this project, we will have approximately 175 construction jobs and 20 permanent jobs, which would be the building services as well as the retail and community facility jobs. In all of our projects, we have a track record of MWBE subcontractors. We have, depending on the type of project that it is, if it's market rate or an HPD job, we have to reach certain criteria, which is 25%. We have no problem ever reaching 25% of MWBE. It's something that through our years of experience, we have in our Rolodex, and we're always looking to even expand on that. We work with some not-for-profits like Sobro, and we had a Zoom call on our back in 2021 for our kickoff to the project we just started, where we had 75 MWBEs from New York City, Queens, and the Bronx on a Zoom call with us, going over the project, and everyone sent me their resumes, and we've been able to, you know, send out bid packages to them as well. But not only are we good WBE subcontractors, being in the Bronx and being a Bronx development and construction company, we've really been able to have a strong supply force of local Bronx suppliers and contractors. So I mentioned this before, our concrete, either Casa, Jenna, or Next Gen, we have plumbers, electricians, masonry supplies, hardware stores, HVAC and plumbing subcontractors that are in the Bronx. It's good for the borough, it's good for our project, and we really strongly try to keep it, you know, as local a source as we can. On all of our job sites in our trailer, during COVID, it's on the outside, but normally on the inside of the trailer, we have a sign-up sheet for local work participation, for security, labor force, cleanup force, post-construction cleanup. So we take names, we make sure everybody has the OSHA cards, and we interview them, and we try to keep hiring as well locally. Next slide. As you saw in pictures of our recent developments, we do have ground floor commercial, and we are able to really match the neighborhood to what the commercial tenant mix should be. So on Alexander Avenue, we were able to lease our spaces to smaller, like mom and pop stores that fit what was going on down on Alexander Avenue. For instance, we have the Lit Bar, which, believe it or not, was the first bookstore, the only bookstore in the Bronx since Barnes and Noble's closed. And that owner of that store is Noelle Santos, who grew up in the Bronx, and she's an unbelievable shopkeeper. She's an unbelievable entrepreneur. She recently had J-Lo at the store, which made press. I'm sure everyone saw that. She had Carmelo Anthony there promoting his book. She's wonderful. We have Bistro, which is a hip hop themed restaurant that we put in on Alexander Avenue as well. And those guys are incredible. And those guys are even looking to do something possibly at this 4541 Furman Avenue project, because they own 4 businesses in the Bronx. They own Bronx Draft House, Bistro, Bricks and Hops, and they just bought a place that they're going to open up another new complex down on Brockford Boulevard. Some of our other commercial tenant mix that we have in larger places, we have Blink Fitness, we have laundromats, we have daycares, urgent cares, Fresenius Dialysis Center, Family Dollar. So we have a range of doing what fits the community and what's best for the area. And we work with, brokers and the players in the community also to see what we think works best in this new building. Next slide.
Okay. Having a difficulty going. Okay. The site location in question is, as we said, on Furman Avenue and White Plains Road, just north of the railroad cut when it goes over to the storage yard. So this is block 5084, lot 63. The lot area that we are seeking to redevelop is 24,729 square feet. It has about 102 feet of frontage on White Plains Road and 193 feet of frontage on Furman Avenue. The elevated rail lines are just to the south, as I said, and White Plains Road is a wide street. It's a 100-foot wide street, so it can accommodate some growth. Across Furman to the east is the rail yard, and the MTA substation is just the corner of the project. So this shows you the rezoning district map that we're proposing, which includes the entire portion of the block north of the railroad cut up to 240th Street. This is an M1 zoning district, as the chair mentioned, and the area surrounding this project site is generally characterized by residential, light industrial, and commercial uses along White Plains Road. This is located, as you know, 1 block from the subway. In either direction, it's about a 4-minute walk to the 2-5 train and a 2-minute walk to the 2 train. This is a photo of the existing conditions at the site. The grade change is pretty significant here between Furman and White Plains Road. So while you're looking at the site from White Plains, it looks very short. And the land grade goes down that direction. So it's a pretty significant difference from top to bottom. So the land use actions that we are proposing here, as the chair reviewed quickly, is a zoning change to R7D C24 overlay. And a portion of this block, which is very similar to what was done and approved by this board in 2018 for the enclave development 1 block up. This rezoning area includes 19 tax lots and approximately 90,000 square feet. This would allow residential use, which is not currently permitted. So that's a key point here. So we're allowing for residential, community facility, and commercial uses. This obviously will be necessary to develop this 100% affordable project that the JCAL team is proposing here. A zoning text amendment to map MIH to require permanently affordable housing on the site will also be included under options 1 and 2. I can go into detail about what those options mean if you like in a minute, in addition to a transit zone text amendment. So this shows you the zoning change map, which, as I mentioned, is very similar to the block just to the north. That was done and approved by all parties in a ULURP in 2018. So really the key part of this that we think makes a lot of sense is the continuation of the commercial corridor on White Plains Road. There's a lot of diverse uses, mostly commercial, along White Plains Road. You know, the M zoning is out of date, we believe, and this would allow the continuation of a commercial corridor, which makes sense along this bustling hub. So we're excited to be able to bring new residential units, of course, to solve and address the affordable housing crisis, but also bring new retail uses to this spot, to have, as Josh mentioned, new retail options such as a cafe or a brewery or childcare, in addition to community facility on the Furman Avenue side. So really, this is a continuation of an already existing commercial corridor in this zone. So let's get to the brass tacks here. The proposed development that they're talking about providing or building, if this were to be approved, is a 10-story mixed-use building with 2 segments, which Pablo from the architecture firm will review. In addition to, so it's 129,000 square feet of residential floor area, and that makes about 150 residential units. The breakdown that we're proposing is 35 studios, 66 one-bedrooms, 32 two-bedrooms, and 17 three-bedrooms, which is 11% of the total project. So that brings us to 38 permanently affordable housing units, and we're proposing MIH option 1 here, which is an average of 60% AMI. 22 parking spaces are being proposed, but that could be increased. We've heard you repeatedly. We understand that the board, prioritizes parking in this location. That can be increased to 46 spaces with attended parking and stackers. So as I said, we're looking at a community facility space of 11,000 roughly square feet on the Furman Avenue side. And that's envisioned to be something like a daycare or, early childhood center, medical office, something like that. And this is an area that has a lot of that type of use. In addition to a really great opportunity to have new commercial on White Plains Road in about a little bit over 7,000 square feet. So this is a site plan, and I think Pablo, if you're able to go over this, you could take over now.
Yes, hi, my name is Pablo Chokin with Afghan Architects. As the slide show here, this is a site plan. This development is comprised with 2 buildings. One we call the West Wing building on White Plains Road, and the East Wing building on Furman Avenue. We are offering a lot of first floor on the West Wing building will be the commercial, which Lauren explained before, will be around 7,000 square feet. And on the first floor of the East Wing building, which is on Furman Avenue, will be located the community facility, which approximately will be 11,000 square feet. We are providing an exterior recreation areas for the tenants, and also indoor recreation areas. The recreation area will be located on the back of the building. And as you see, we provide like a lot of green areas, and we'll provide like a bench, tables, so all the tenants can gather in that area. And also each building will have their own laundry room and an indoor recreation area as well. Okay. So Lauren, yeah. So this is like a schematic cross section of both buildings. One is facing White Plains Road, which is the one on the right, and the Furman Avenue, the one on the left. The parking will be located on the 7th level. It will be an underground parking, and will be like a self-serve parking. As you see, in between the 2 buildings, there will be both recreation areas. The one on the right, which is a little higher, it will be for the building on White Plains Road, and the one on the left, which is a little lower, will be for the building on Furman Avenue. So these are a rendering for the building facing White Plains Road. We are proposing like a all face brick. So the entire elevation will be all brick, no IFIs at all. And also on the first floor, you see all the storefront that will be located the commercial store on White Plains Road. So as you see, it's all brick, nice brick, with a lot of openings for windows, a lot of lights on this apartment. So this is an aerial rendering reflecting both buildings. The building close to us is the building on Furman Avenue, and the building on the left-hand side is the West Wing building on White Plains Road. The area between the buildings will be the recreation area, the exterior recreation area for each building.
So I think that
Thank you.
concludes our presentation, and we would love to just have a discussion with you, answer any questions. I don't know how next step.
Does any community members have a question? Anybody here from the community surrounding the area? Any board member want to speak?
Yeah, this is Robert Hall. I was hoping that some folks from the community would have been on this call. So I'm somewhat disappointed because I was trying to make those arrangements, you know, and I don't know what happened, but in any event, we got to move on in the essence of time. So
It seems as though there are. It seems as though there are a lot of members.
I
on
do
the
have a
public hearing
question.
call.
Wait. Whoa. One
Wait.
person at a time.
I am
So
from
let me say this. So Mr. Strick, let me jump in for a second. So if you have a question, whether you are a board member, preferably we'd like to have community members, because this is your time to comment, because board members have seen this. However, whether you're a community member or a board member, what I need you to do is raise your hand. And how you raise your hand by the reactions button.
I don't see that.
There is a button for you to raise your hand. So right where you see the smiley face, if you raise your hand, then I will recognize you. So I see Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall had the floor initially. Then after that, if you're on the phone, then you raise your hand by hitting *9. If you're on the phone, raise your hand by hitting *9. So right now I'm going to close. Moses, I don't know who you are, but I'm about to close your mic. And I see Mrs. Martin has her hand up. So before I go to you, Mr. Hall, you have any more comments before I go to Mrs. Martin?
no, I'm done. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So Mrs. Keisha Lago Martin, the floor is yours.
Ms. Coronel has texted me and said that there are many board members on the general meeting link.
I'm sorry, it's me. Yes, there are 2 links that went
Okay.
out. I was just on the other one. There's a bunch of us there.
Yeah, but we
Okay,
have to finish the hearing.
Right. We're gonna be going over there in a little bit. All right, everybody. So just
Do you want me to let them know?
yes, please let them know that right now we're at the public hearing and that we'll be
Let
over
them
in
know,
a little bit.
Beatrice.
Okay.
I logged
And in
into
fact,
the-
we may.
Okay, thank you, Sydney. Dr.
What,
Burke, they've been alerted.
what's that? Yeah, so we're doing this, and maybe that's why, because there were 2 links. What I'm thinking is after we do the question, then we can all, and you let me know what you want to do, Mr. Stricker, then we all go over to the general board and complete the last ULEP number. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think it's very advantageous to the board.
Yes. So let's finish the question. Well, actually, yeah, let's finish the question here first. Then we'll go over there. Everybody go over there, and then we'll do the second one. Is that fair enough?
But the full board meeting is not a public hearing. The other ULIP 1930 requires a public hearing as well. We have a little more time, but the full board meeting is not a public hearing.
So what you're suggesting is okay, that's fine, George. I mean, I'm just.
Okay, we'll stay where we are then.
Yeah, we'll stay put. So Beatrice, can you do me a favor? Can you have them come over here?
Sure, I'll send them this link.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, thanks for the clarification, George.
I'm
So-
sorry, just to clarify, everyone or just our community board members?
This is community, well, if they're in the community, anybody,
Okay,
Yeah, this is everybody.
because we do want to hear from the community.
okay, be
Yeah.
right back.
All right, thanks, Beatrice. So, Keisha, did you have your question answered, or were you just alerting me?
I was just alerting you.
Okay, thank you
I'll
so
lower my hand.
much. Okay, I see. Patricia, you have your hand up, Patricia.
Patricia McDowell?
Patricia?
Are you talking about Patricia McDowell?
Yes.
No, I actually didn't. I didn't realize I had my hand
Well, no,
up.
somebody has their
No,
hand
I'm the
up. Well,
other
it's with the
Patricia.
phone. So hang on. I mean, I don't know
I'm
who
the
this
other
Patricia is.
Patricia.
Okay, I see it.
Hillary Bloomfield. Hillary Bloomfield has a question.
Okay, well, wait.
Patricia.
Okay, right now, Ms. Bloomfield, I'm recognizing hands.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you're on the phone, hit *9. So I'm recognizing your hand. Okay, I see somebody with the name Patricia, and I'm calling them. So I don't know if it's McDowell. There's one Patricia McDowell, and then there's another person named Patricia.
That's where we will be meeting.
Yes, that's me. I'm the
Thank you.
second
Do you
Patricia.
see the link there? And then we'll come back.
Okay, so Patricia, the floor is yours.
My question is, what is the noise with the train since it's so close to the building? How is it going to affect the tenants? Because you have noise in the back and noise in the front. Has that been looked at?
Yeah.
It has.
Yes, we will provide a high OITC rating windows, which will prevent the noise coming from the railroad tracks to the apartments.
We actually did extra special analysis of that, obviously considering how sensitive the location is. And the plan is to provide basically the best noise attenuating windows that you can.
And how sustainable is the building as far as sustainability and green? Because I don't know if I heard that.
Yes.
Yeah, it has.
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay, basically this building will comply with Enterprise Green Communities criteria, which basically we will use like a low rates flow for plumbing devices. We will provide also a Energy Star roofing system, low VOC materials for all what is paint materials, sealants, all that stuff will be all low VOC. So this building will comply with the Enterprise Green Community criteria, which is required by HPD. So that's the sustainability part that we are looking to do on this building.
I just want to add also, Pablo, that the building generally, new construction today is going to be like 100 times more energy efficient than the older homes in the area in terms of keeping the heat and cool inside, right? Because it's going to be really insulated. And with all the new materials and the DOB guidelines that are currently required, the building will be far more energy efficient than many of its neighbors. In addition to a green roof and or solar panels, depending on the specific angles and locations. So there's going to be a green roof and or solar panels on the building as well.
Yes, I want to add that.
Okay, guys, let me stop you here because we've got a couple of questions and we still have a general board meeting to get to.
Sure.
George, let me get some guidance on this from you, George. I've got 4 more questions and then I want to get to the second ULURP application and then go from there. So at the public hearing, because we don't want it to go on,
Sure.
all night either. So George, I need some counsel.
You said you have 4 more questions. Let's get to them.
All right, let's do it. All right, Ms. Bloomfield, you're up. Ms. Bloomfield, Hillary Bloomfield. Ms. Bloomfield.
Go to the next person.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Alfredo.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Who am I speaking with?
This is Hillary Bloomfield now.
Hi, Ms. Bloomfield. Yes. Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay. The question I have is, when you say affordability for some of the apartments, what do you consider as affordability?
Yes, that's
How
a very
much
good
would the
question.
rent be or whatever it is, according to size?
Yes.
So,
So-
Lauren, you want
Go
me to take that?
Yep.
So it basically will range, the apartments will range on for a studio we would start at $419 a month and would go up to 100 or 1,013 for a studio. And a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, for example, would start at $722 a month and would go up to $2,273. And when I say go up, I mean there's a sliding scale depending on what you make. So, for example, on the studios, on the lower end, you would only pay $419 per month, and on the upper income bracket, those people would pay $1,013 for that studio.
Okay, and the size of the studio is what? What is the size of the studio?
Hello?
Because sometimes these apartments, you say the studio and it's like a closet.
HPD guidelines, and as we mentioned, this project would be hopefully developed under HPD financing for affordable housing. So there are minimums and maximums. Pablo, do you want to?
Yeah, that is correct. I mean, the apartment will need to comply with the HPD guidelines. So basically, they give it to us like a minimum and max apartment size. I believe that for a 0-bedroom, the range is between 350 and 400 square feet. For 1 bedroom, I believe is around 500 square feet. 2-bedroom around 650. Three bedroom around 800 square feet. Usually this apartment is a pretty nice sizes. I mean, we will comply with the HPD guidelines. With as I said before, they have minimum areas, a minimum size for bedrooms.
Okay, thank you, Alfredo.
I think you're muted, Alfredo.
Hey guys, welcome. How everybody? Just want to say, Lauren, thanks for the increase in the parking. I know that was one of the issues we raised last time. When you say attendance, so is it gonna be also rented out from some, like say someone is in the across the street shopping, they'll be able to park here also when you're being attended?
The parking will be self-serve. It won't be an attended parking.
No, Pablo.
Pablo,
We have to. Do you want to field this question, or Bill? I think we have to.
Yeah. So what happens is that the tenants would have first right to the units. The tenants of the building would have first rights to the units, and then if there was any unrented, then you could look to the general population to fill it with people living in the neighborhood.
That's the question I asked Lauren. I mean, I know what you're doing.
For retail, yes. You're talking about for retail, like hourly use? Yes. It would be a number of units.
That's fine. But at the end of the day, you guys came back to us with additional parking. That was one of the issues. So I thank you for that. I know you also mentioned, or the other gentleman, I think Steve, if I got his name correctly, that maybe one of the guys from Lincoln Ave is going to come over here as a tenant, probably. That would be nice,
Yeah, that was me, Josh.
Josh, sorry.
Yeah, the guys from Beach Joe Jr. and Alfredo. We show them all our projects, but we showed them this one, which hit them a little closer than some of the other projects, and they'd love to do something up here. I mean, they have a range of really cool spots throughout the Bronx.
That's going to be municipal
so yeah,
parking.
they have expressed interest in coming up here.
All right, thank you, guys.
Okay, next, Moses.
Yes, my question was going to be concerning the parking as well. So, am I to understand then that you started at 32, proposed, and you increased it to 46?
I believe it was originally 22.
22, and increased it to 46?
Correct.
And what's the total, total amount of apartments again?
150 affordable units.
Affordable, well, I hope all of them are, yeah. That doesn't sound adequate to me. I mean, everyone knows parking is an issue. And I don't even see where the the number that you're settling on actually is adequate. And is there some other way you can even further explore this?
We've definitely explored maximizing it, and we'll continue to do that for sure.
Yeah, that's one of the major things I see at this point, given the status of the community. So, to be discussed.
So we really appreciate your hearing from us. And again, this is a continuation of the zoning district that this board approved in 2018 on the block just to the north with very similar profile.
Understand, but this is a new development here.
Sure.
So we have to revisit it and look at it as we move forward. And as more participants, come on board, like myself, my first time, participating in such a meeting. And so it's a role that we all need to, anyway, I'm sufficient with that.
Okay,
Okay,
so
thank you.
yeah, I was about to say, I don't see any more questions, Mr. Stricker. I know Ted had a point of order. So what's your point of order, Ted? Ted?
Sorry, Dr. Berg. There were probably about 20 or more people who were in the general board room for that meeting since 7 o'clock. And someone gave us the link to this other meeting. I was actually looking for this link. I don't know if I received it in my email. But I just wanted to go back to the original last meeting when we had set this meeting for today, because I had suggested that we use a different date because I know that this was going to happen in terms of having two meetings on the same night. So I just wanted to bring that up to your attention.
Yeah, we know the issue, but this was a matter of expedition. We had to move this along because they're in the process already.
Right. So in other words, Ted,
we
if we
have
wait till the
suggested
next
that we
general
do this on a different night instead of having two meetings on the same night.
Ted,
The
what Mr.
point is,
Stricker
every
said-
night we have a meeting at the board.
Right, but hang on.
We had to expedite this, so we chose to do it on a meeting night, thinking the board members would join us for the public hearing, which most of them did not.
And so let me also add this. Thanks, Mr. Stricker. Also, Ted, because we have to vote on it tonight, because if we wait to the next general board meeting, then we lose the triple negative. So it has to be voted on this evening. And so that's, why the scheduling was, done the way that it was. So, it is what it is. So if there are no
What
more
I'm
questions.
saying is that it seems as if most people did not receive the link for this meeting, and we were in the general board meeting.
You should have got both links.
Sorry, guys, but I sent out the links.
Yeah,
You sent out both. I know that, Ursula.
Yeah, both links were sent out that I can attest to. So
As a community member, yeah, I received the link, and so did a lot of other people. They're not here. They're not here. The link was sent out.
okay, guys, look, let me just end this right quick. So assuming that there are no more questions on the first application, we'd like to thank them for coming because we're moving along. We need to get to the second ULURP application. So Mr. Stricker, is there anything else before you want to close this one out?
I'm going to close this one out now since there's no further questions.
Yes, sir. Okay.
And we'll take a vote at the main board.
Yes, we can take a vote at the general board meeting. Yes, sir. Okay. Yes. So thank you very, very much. And so I'm going to announce the second one for Mr. Stricker.
Thank you.
Not a problem. You're welcome. So the second ULURP application is ULURP number N as in Nancy 210392 Z as in zebra, Z as in zebra, X as in Xavier. What this is a zoning map, a zoning map and text amendment from, they want to change from an R4 to an R6B with the MIH to facilitate a two-story, 14,264 square foot daycare community facility, which is being sought by Centerland Realty at 1930 Adee Avenue in the Bronx. Mr. Stricker?
Yeah, is anybody here from there?
Yes, sir. Their presentation is up.
All right, present.
Thank you, Richard Lobel of Sheldon Lobel PC for the applicant. Good evening, Chair, community board members. I'm joined by Amanda Ionati from my office, who's sharing her screen. With me are Ron and Michael Gilbert, the applicants for this rezoning. Kevin Williams from Equity Environmental is also here. Sebastian D'Alessandro, who is the project architect. And most importantly, Dr. Ada Clark Ramsey is here from St. Gemuel Daycare. So the facility that you see in front of you is 2 stories. It is currently a non-conforming building formerly used for manufacturing of metal products. If this application were to be approved, St. Gemuel, which has been looking for over 5 years for an adequate space, would move into the facility and use the entirety of the building for daycare for local residents. Dr. Clark Ramsey can talk after this presentation, understanding the lateness of the hour and the fact that everyone in the community board is hot to get on together. We're going to go as quickly as possible and allow for questions afterwards to answer anything that would be addressed. Next slide. Briefly, the site history is as such. In 1963, this was a building which was used for manufacturing use of metal products with accessory, customer, and employee parking. The building was entirety western portion of the lot. In 1987, the then owners, which are not our owners, but prior owners, 40 plus years ago, filed plans for an as-of-right enlargement to the building on the eastern side of the property. Although they obtained a work permit, there was no C of O ever issued. Between 1987 and 1995, it is apparent that there was some illegal construction at the site, which filled out the eastern side of the property. In 1995, DOB caught wind of this, issued violations saying that an additional 1,200 square feet was added and that they would need to conform to approved plans. The violation remains open. Ron and Michael Gilbert obtained the property in 2017. Ron and Michael are developers of daycare centers. We can share with you some other sites that they have produced, and so immediately went out looking for whether or not St. Gemuel would be interested in the site. They had conversations, and St. Gemuel indeed confirmed that they would be interested. So that's the reason for the application. Next slide. So what do we need to do to make this building legal? We need to do 2 things. One of them is to rezone the building. The building is currently zone R4. To fix the problems with the building, we would need to zone it R6B. Under R4, you would be permitted to have 14,000 square feet of community facility space. That's under the existing zone. Under R6B, you're also permitted to have 14,000 square feet of community facility space. What's the reason for the rezoning? The reason is that R6B has different regulations affecting front yard, side yard, and lot coverage. So in fact, you don't gain any additional square footage from this rezoning. What you see on this building is what you get, except for one thing. They're actually going to have to lower the roof in the back of the property, a corner of the roof, we can show you on the plans, to 23 feet from existing 25 feet. So this is a crazy rezoning, but in essence, if the rezoning is approved, the building will actually be reduced. And they do that in order to become a complying building with regards to lot coverage. The second thing is that we are mapping an inclusionary housing district on these lots. What is the reason for that? DCP, the Department of City Planning, does not allow you to engage in this rezoning by law without mapping inclusionary housing. What it means is that for anybody in rezoning, if for some reason they decided to demolish and rebuild their building, which we are telling you we would not do here. We've got a 2 FAR building. We're keeping a 2 FAR building. But if they did, they would have to provide 25 to 30% inclusionary housing on that site. That's by law. That's 2396 of the zoning resolution regarding inclusionary housing and mapping those districts. This basically, as far as the building and the rezoning, what you see is what you get. Next slide. So as stated, the proposed rezoning would facilitate this building as a use group 3 community facility for daycare. There was a discussion at the last hearing. Why did they go in for a variance? That's a great question. As a matter of record, our firm has gone into the BSA, the Board of Standards and Appeals, for over 800 variance cases, by far exceeding the number of rezonings that we've done. Like that's the core of our business. You can't meet the variance findings on this building for 2 primary reasons. One of them is unique conditions. There has to be some sort of unique condition in the site, be it the shape of the lot, soil remediation, what have you, that's not present here. And the second thing is self-created hardship. If you built a building or a predecessor in interest built a building that by its nature was illegal, you can't go in and then claim at BSA that you have a hardship. That's called a self-created hardship, and they won't give you a variance in that respect. The R6B here will legalize these existing conditions, particularly the front yard, the side yard, and lot coverage. And so the existing 14,264 square foot building would be able to remain. One word prior to any presentation by St. Gemuel, but the applicant is the applicant would anticipate that St. Gemuel would use this property. This is a daycare facility that has had operations in the Bronx and in the Bronx Park and Fordham area for the last 17 years. They've served hundreds of children in the area. They have a unique educational and social programming curriculum, which is very impressive. And I'm sure Dr. Clark Ramsey can discuss that, but this would allow them to serve kids in this immediate area. Next slide. This is the zoning map, which demonstrates where we would put the proposed R6B zoning district. Next slide. You can see here, this is a little bit clearer. The R6B would cover our lot, and it would cover the 3 adjacent lots. Those 3 adjacent lots, by the way, have existing 3-family, 3-story residential buildings on them. They're all overbuilt. City planning, we talked to them about a land use rationale. They said, spread the R6B to cover those lots so that you can make those buildings complying buildings. Right now, they are non-complying buildings. Each one of them is built with FAR greater than what would be permitted in the R4. With an R6B, the floor area becomes complying. And they have floor areas approaching, I think, 1.63. The total FAR available in R6B would be 2.2. Also to understand, because again, there's no artifice about this. There's no intended redevelopment here. The 2.2 FAR that you could build to in an R6B would carry with it the requirement of 25 to 30% of affordability. So you're really only getting about 1.5 FAR, maybe 1.6 of market rate housing. The remainder would be affordable. So I think the largest building here is a 1.63. There literally would be no reason for them to change their building. Next slide. There's a land use map, which just shows the area in and around the property. Again, we front on Adee Avenue and on Grace Avenue along the side. As was discussed, and as you can see in some of the photos, which feel free to page through, Amanda, the property along Grace Avenue, there is currently the sidewalk is in disrepair. If there is even a sidewalk, there's trees growing there. It's a blight. And one of the discussions was that in accordance with the application, the applicant here would be required to file a builder's pavement plan and would be required to fix that sidewalk. I know that the land use committee discussed the benefit to doing that and the opportunity to create nice frontage here on that side of the building. What I'm going to do now is just have Amanda, because I'm sure you're all familiar with the site and the area, have Amanda forward to the last thing, which is the plans and materials. And again, the project architect is with us as well. We can discuss any of the questions that you have as far as plans are concerned. Sebastian can do so, but we will reiterate. You take a look at the building. This is the building, and I think really most of what you need to see is on the second slide. So again, like we've said, there are no changes to the building, except you can see a little corner of the building on the lower left-hand side of the plans. There is a square there, right there. And that is the area where the ceiling will actually be lowered. The reason for that is that this district would allow for up to 23 feet of the building would not count against lot coverage. So if the floor drops down to 23 feet, you can take that calculation away from lot coverage. So the existing building exceeds that. By reducing that second story, the rear portion, to 23 feet, you now come within, as of right, zoning calculations for lot coverage. That's the reason for the reduction. Again, not a very common thing to actually go through a 2-year process to rezone a property and to end up with a building which you are actually reducing. But here, that is the case. With that, I would ask, assuming Dr. Clark Ramsey is on the phone with us, we would love for her to present with regards to this, because again, we've got an application here and a building which is, on its way to being a valued member of the community, and we're hoping that we can get St. Gemuel in. Dr. Clark Ramsey, are you available?
Yes. Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure. Now, St. General Daycare in, excuse me, a part of it. We hope to enhance the community by bringing community, family, and businesses together to enhance the standard of education for students. We have been in existence running daycare in the Fordham area for 17 years, and we have done tremendously well, great, by the output of quality education that we offer the families in our area. And we're looking forward to doing the same in the Adee Avenue community. We serve kids from 3-year-olds, 3Ks and 4Ks. And currently we have applied for RFPs for 3Ks and 4Ks, which for 3Ks and 4Ks, I'm sorry. So currently that is in the works, and they're looking at the facility of Adee, if approved by the board, that come September 2022, we will be able to educate families, kids 3 to 4, and enhance the quality of life in that area. We propose in our proposal, we have to have a high quality community, family and community and business interaction, and also to develop and develop community engagement. I'm losing my voice, so you have to excuse me.
I'll take over in a couple of minutes. You're doing great.
So what we hope to do is to assess the needs of the community in that area, and with the collaboration, we are able to involve, work together to provide quality education for the students that we propose to serve there. And we have a strong record of community engagement with the business community, health community, and other shareholders that will help us to move along and provide diverse education to the diversity of students that we are going to propose to serve in that area. Okay, is there anything else I think? So that's basically what we plan to do. We see that working to uplift the community, immediate community, as well as the surrounding community.
Thank you, Dr. Ramsey. So I would just add, and Dr. Clark-Ramsey can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to spare her voice a little bit. Ted James has put in the chat, what's the name and address of your daycare in the Fordham area? It is St. Jemuel Group Family Daycare, I believe, and Dr. Ramsey can correct me if I'm wrong, 2836 Webb Avenue is the existing location. Is that correct, Dr. Ramsey?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Have you looked at the number of family and group family daycares in that general area? I know of at least 4 within a 4-block radius. That's an additional comment from Ted James. I understand that because 1930 Adee Avenue is located in a zip code with less than 4 preschool facilities. Although there are only 4 preschool facilities, there are 3,776 children under 5 and 900 nursery-age children. Dr. Ramsey intends to be able to fill the void for early childhood education, which is supported by the Department of Education. For Mr. Jackson's benefit, I would also add that there are an additional 4,000 children ages 5 to 9 who would be able to attend an after-school program at the facility with a STEAM focus. Family input and involvement is a significant component of the DOE program at the site, and the center is continuously providing programs to support parents. That's what I've got so far. With that, Chair, I'm happy to turn it to the applicant team if there's any more questions from the community.
I have a question. And the question is, are you going to remove the light pole or the telephone pole from the middle of Grace Avenue? Are you dealing with Con Ed on that? Because that's their pole.
I would ask Sebastian and secondarily Ron and Michael if you can just address the poll for a moment.
Yes, as part of the process with the Department of Buildings, we'll be required to file a PPP plan, which will require a new sidewalk. So part of that, it would require the removal of the current trees that are in the roadbed, in addition to the utility pole. So yes, the utility pole will be removed as well as the tree, and new trees will be installed on the new sidewalk.
Thank you.
Mr. Strickler, we have
Is there
two
any-
questions. I see one in the chat, and I see George has his hand up.
Hey, George.
So, John had. I think George is going to tie this off. Let me get to John Isaac's question first. It's in the chat. It says, "Is this building around the corner from a men's shelter?"
I'm not familiar with a men's shelter in the immediate vicinity, although I'd open that up to Ron and Michael, or perhaps to Dr. Clark Ramsey if they're aware of any such facility in the area.
We're not aware of any in the immediate area. I mean, these surrounding houses are mostly two and three family houses. So I mean, there's no evidence we've seen of anything like that. I mean, it's always possible. I would never swear for it, but I mean, nothing we're aware of.
Okay. Our district manager has a question. George Torres.
There's no men's shelter in the valley. 3240 Grace Avenue was moved to Furman Avenue, which is why we need the rezoning for Furman Avenue. The question I had was in regards to the 3 private homeowners. Was this idea, did you guys have contact, Richard, with any of those homeowners with this upzoning, or was that just city planning suggestion? And I would imagine none of those homes have certificate of occupancy because they're overbuilt.
So those homes date back to the late 80s. So I'm not sure about their certificate of occupancy status. But basically, city planning, what we do is we work out our land use rationale with city planning. So city planning basically said to us, look, you're mapping an R6B. We would like you to include these additional properties if it fits within your land use rationale, which it did, to make those R6B. I will tell you 2 things about the inclusion of those homes. The first is that we pay additional fees to have those homes included in terms of both legal review and architectural review at city planning, as well as environmental review, to no benefit to the applicants. So basically they're included, but we don't benefit from including them. The second thing, of course, as I always say, is that the district boundaries of a rezoning most times will change during the course of the rezoning application. While we feel that they're supported as far as the land use rationale, most immediately in the Bronx, there was a rezoning we did on Kingsbridge Road where there were smaller houses which were included in a rezoning area. Those were requested removal by the local community board. The Bronx Borough president as well requested removal, and city planning took them out. So again, we think that they fit, but to the extent that the community board feels they don't fit or doesn't want those included, that of course is within the purview of the community board to ask.
Well, the reason I asked you and we've shared with the board all these conversations that we've had in regarding the restrictive declaration. The concern was that you were not doing a spot rezoning where we've seen on other projects within the district, and which you just mentioned. You're including these 3 homes, so you're going from corner to corner, which makes it a little hard to swallow because, again, as you saw from the map, everything there except for Workman Circle is an R4. Workman Circle is an R5, which is 1 block away on Hammersley. So that's the concern. But you're actually doing these homeowners a favor because if they want to sell this in the future, whoever gets it can get a certificate of occupancy, which I think you need to buy a house anyway. So you're actually throwing the city planning department a bone by doing this. So, and from my perspective, you're filing the BPP. You acknowledge that that side yard is yours. It's a required side yard, so you'll be greening that as well as part of your project, right?
Sebastian, can you confirm that?
Well, there's really no side yard on that side of the building. So right now, the building goes from lot line to lot line. So what we would be installing is a sidewalk, a 10-foot wide sidewalk. And the intent is to reinstall 4 trees, relocate the utility pole. But that, so it's not a side yard. It would be a sidewalk.
You have a side yard. You have a pickup truck in the picture you just showed us before. That's not.
I don't think that's our lot.
To the private homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know who owns that. They're squatters. They've been there a long time. So eventually, once we do build a sidewalk, somehow they would have to, be relocated. They would have to, those cars and trucks would have to be moved out.
Well, I think this is important for us. It's important for me. You have to figure that out because you're not building the sidewalk if that's not adjacent to your property. So you have to clear that site out, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have no choice but to clear that out. We will contact DOT if the community board can be of any help with the squatters. I mean, absolutely, all those vehicles would have to move in order to install the new sidewalk and the new trees.
Just to clarify, we don't actually own that property. We'll be improving it for the benefit of the community and adding the sidewalk, but we don't, that's not actually our yard right now. That's actually in line with the street. So those trees theoretically are sitting in a street.
No, I agree. I drive by it every day.
Right. No, it's terrible.
But again, your property is, your architect just said, I don't want to belabor this because I do want to jump into, it's already going to be 8 o'clock. Your building's lot line to lot line, but you have a driveway facing Adee Avenue on the left side, and then you have all those cars that, are growing into the vegetation that's there. You're not doing this for the benefit of the community. The DOB is requiring you to build that yard. That is not an extra lot. Or am I mistaken, Richard? Is there a block and lot for that piece of parcel right there?
There's a block and lot for that parcel. Amanda, maybe if you want to bring up the map, Amanda, maybe point it out and talk to that for a moment, that might be useful. And again, understanding we're short on time, but just to get through this point.
Here, maybe on this map, you can see the building.
Speak a little more loudly, please.
Sorry, the zoning lot that the building is on is outlined in red. The building goes to the end of the zoning lot. The area where all the trucks and the vegetation is technically outside of the zoning lot. There's nothing intervening between that area and the zoning lot. We acknowledge that we are the last lot before this vegetated area, but that area is actually part of the street and the sidewalk. So they're going to improve it and bring it back to a sidewalk condition and remove the vegetation and the vehicles.
But that area is technically outside the zoning lot, so there is no side yard. The building ends at the end of the zoning lot, and beyond that will then be a new sidewalk and street trees.
Outside of your lot line.
Correct, so,
Okay.
if I could
All right.
just,
I think we got George.
Yeah, we got it. Thank you.
that, it's this area I'm outlining here, that is sidewalk and
Okay.
protrudes into the street.
We're good. Thumbs up.
Thank you. So I have Alfred. I have Ms. Moore as well, but Alfredo has his hand up, and I'm gonna recognize him, and then I'm gonna wrap up with Ms. Moore's questions in the chat, and then we're gonna close this because we need to get to the general board meeting. Alfredo.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So a couple of things. First for Mr. Sebastian. Last we spoke, what have you done regarding that open application? Have you even attempted to
Well,
restate
so
it?
I mean, our application, is superseding the current Alt One application that's on file. So we're superseding that application. So as you know, you can't have more than one Alt One application on file. You can't have more than one C of O application on file. So our application, I superseded the previous application that was taken on by a previous architect, but that application is also superseding a prior Alt One application.
No, the last time we were here, I told you about this application that was in conjunction with the objection sheet that you showed us that had the stamp by default stating that you guys had to go to the BSA. I also told you that that application has been sitting for over X amount of years with no action. So theoretically, as per DOB guidelines, is considered dead. So I'm going to ask the question one more time. What have you done with that application as of today?
We have made a request with the borough office to reinstate that application.
Okay, so you just submit your PR11, you
Request.
submit your PR11 and your PW1 stating reinstatement. Okay, that's one thing. Regards to Mr. Lobel. Regarding the adjoining properties that either you voluntarily told the city planning or they hired you to incorporate it into the rezoning. Why can't we just focus on this particular block and lot? I don't feel comfortable including other properties, especially if they existing non-compliant properties. I have an issue right now with one of my jobs in Tremont is a R4, and my client wants to build a 3-family, and he cannot do that as of right. And he's but my next door neighbor is a legal 3-family. I mean, it is what it is. You cannot do that. I'm very optimistic about you including somebody else's properties in this rezoning. If they want to rezone their properties, they should come to the board and present as to why. Once we rezone and add those properties, as George mentioned, those properties can easily, if they non-compliant, be compliant. And also, if somebody wants to come later and buy all those houses, they can knock all those houses down and build a nice building. So I think we should just focus on the property in question, the block and lot in question, and not any adjoining properties. Also, we mentioned about incorporating a restrictive declaration to this property, stating and to be recorded with this county clerk's office, stating that this property is only going to be used for the intended purposes that the board is going to approve it for. Are you guys willing to include draft that restrictive declaration if this goes forward and record it with city planning?
Yes, with the following understanding, Mr. Figueroa. So what we actually, Amanda, can you just share, do you have that for a minute? Can you just share the restrictive declaration? Why don't you share the first one from the February 21 rezoning just for a second? So while Amanda calls that up, in a rezoning about 11 months ago, and I mentioned this at the Land Use Committee hearing, the Land Use Committee at Queens Community Board 12 was in favor of a rezoning we were doing, but the understanding was that our rezoning was just in order to get a gym, a health club at the site. And so the community board said, well, wait a minute, we want to see a restricted declaration which basically says no hotel. At the time in Queens, there was a massive number of hotels being converted to homeless shelters. So although there's some legal language in here, the paragraph 1 says that the declarant and successors shall not permit the premises to be used or occupied by use group 5 transient hotel or a homeless shelter, which term shall include nonprofit with sleeping accommodations as defined in zoning resolution. Signed it, recorded it, community board approved it, rezoning was approved. So if the question is, do we want to, would we submit a restricted declaration on this property? Absolutely. The one request I would make of the land use committee, because I've already talked to Ron and Michael, and they already said, look, we're not housing guys, we're community facility guys. But the understanding would be that if for some reason, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, it made sense for this to become a residential building, we would basically say, okay, let's cap the height such that we wouldn't be doing a building that would do harm to the valley. So the understanding was what we'd prefer would be for the restrictive declaration, because the restrictive declaration is not just for the next 10 years or 20 years, it's for life. We would say cap the height at 3 stories, which is the same 3 stories that exist on the buildings in the area, including the immediately 3 adjacent residential neighbors. And that way, you know, understanding that like these guys don't want that. They've got their full build right now with a 2-story community facility with great floor plates you can't even get, and which St. Genevieve wants to take advantage of. So again, like that would be the request for the restricted declaration going forward.
All right, I'm
Good,
done.
Alfredo?
Yeah, I mean, again, so
Because your last question. So let me just, before you take the floor again, Alfredo. So everybody else, I see your questions in the chat. We just don't have time for them. So I'm going to ask the applicants. You know, we're going to, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to go over to our general board link after Alfredo's done, after Mr. Strickland now closes out. If they want to, so applicants, you have questions in the chat that are dealing with education, and particularly Dr. Clark will probably need to answer these questions. Those questions need to be answered. But right now, Alfredo and George asked questions as it pertains to zoning, and that's what we're here to concentrate on. So Alfredo, if you're comfortable, I mean, just let me know, and then we can close this off and move on. But it's up to you.
yeah, I mean, again, like I said, Richard, I mean, I get you, I understand your client's concerns, but just also understand our concerns, and this is what we raised last time. And like I said, I mean, to cap it off at 3 stories with only in that block is fine, but with the understanding that it is not to be developed in any way, form higher than a 3-story, 3-family building. If that.
100%. 100%.
All right, guys.
Okay, so thank you so much. So that ends that. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Stricker before we close out the public hearing. And George, if I'm make sure to get some point of clarity. So from our district manager. So George, once we close this out, then we need to hop on to the other link. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's where Frank and John are, right?
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
That's what Frank and John are recording. I mean, because I'm recording this, but for
Yes.
they're over there.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. They're waiting on us. Okay. All right. So, Mr. Stricker?
Yes, I say the hearing is closed, and we'll take a vote at the full board.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Stricker. So here's what we're going to do, everybody. So we're going to log off this link. I'm going to stop recording. We're going to log off this link. We're going to go over to the general board meeting. I promise that this has got to be a quick meeting because I know we've been here already for an hour. And the reason that we're starting late is because board members were not here on time. Had we started on time, then, you know, we probably could have entertained some more questions and it got done quicker, but we're not. But even at that, my plan is for us to have a nice quick meeting and be done hopefully soon. All right. Some items that's on the agenda may need to be tabled, but let's get this done because we have to vote on this. All right. So with that, I will see you at the general board meeting, everybody. See you in a little bit. Okay.
10-4.
Is it possible to share the link to the general board meeting?
I think somebody just put it in.
Okay, yeah,
in the
it
chat,
looks
right?
like it's in the chat now.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, not a problem. So see you in a bit.